Hey ghoul friends, it's me, Adrian, or Ayden, either way. I am still your host, and you are still listening to Susto, the podcast of ooky spooky scary stories. How are you all doing? I feel like I can tell, I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm a little congested right now. My allergies are flaring up. I was rubbing some kittens all over my face, fully knowing that I am allergic to animals, but that doesn't stop me. Because I love animals and I love cats. So excuse my voice for today's episode. I hope y'all are doing well. It's spring break. I'm officially on spring break right now. I turned in my last assignment before the break a couple days ago. So I am looking forward to just enjoying this time and getting to work on things like Susto, of course. I hope you all are also enjoying your break. I hope everyone's doing well, safe, feeling happy, healthy, all that good stuff. So I have one, I guess, kind of big announcement or something that I'm excited about is, as you may know, on Patreon, if you sign up to be a best girlfriend, which is the top tier, it's a $10 tier, you get all of the benefits on the Patreon and exclusive benefits to being in that tier. One of them is an exclusive Best Girlfriends holographic sticker, and that sticker won't be available anywhere else. It's not available for purchase. The only way to get it is to sign up to be a patron, and that sticker is part of those benefits. So I finally came up with a design. I did a test print, and I have the new holographic Best Girlfriends sticker. So when I post the post for this episode, I will also include a picture or a video of the sticker. But it is if you don't want to hear what it's going to be, a spoiler, maybe skip ahead a few seconds. But it is, I'm not sure if you remember, the planchette design that I made for the pins. It's that design and printed on holographic sticker paper. And then it has, of course, on bottom, the little hashtag Best Girlfriend tag on it. And it looks super cool. I have it on my water bottle. I love it. And I hope that you all love it too. And speaking of that design and those pins, I think I have maybe like 3 of those pins left. I've been getting more patrons, so shout out to all of you. Thank you so much. But remember, I'm not sure if you do remember, I did decide when I ordered those pins that I probably wasn't going to be ordering more of those pins. They were exclusive to October only, but there's only 3 of them left, I believe. And it's first come, first serve. So if a patron wants to buy one of those, you know how to contact me, send me a message, send me a DM on social media, an email, what have you, and I can set one aside for you, or you can sign up to be a Best Girlfriend and get tons of benefits and free stuff. So yeah, just keep in mind that there's only 3 of those available. And even if I run out, I think being a Best Girlfriend is a lot of fun. You get access to lots of really cool stuff. But you already know about that, and you know where to find it. It's patreon.com/Susto podcast. And if you don't know, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Have a seat. The couch is a little dusty. It's okay. The place it has been abandoned and haunted for years, but that's fine. And if you're not new here, thank you for coming back. So, as you can already see by the title of the episode today, I'm going to be telling you the story of El Tío. In Potosí, Bolivia, El Tío, or the uncle, is a god/demon worshipped by miners in the Cerro Rico mountain. The miners offer sacrifices in exchange for not being killed by him. He rules over the mountain, and the many deaths that take place within it are said to be caused by his hunger. The Tío may take several different forms, but he most often appears inside the mines as a clay figure resembling the Christian devil. Typically, an image of the Tío is to be found seated in each active mineshaft in a niche near the miners' work area. The figures vary widely in their size, composition, and design. Some are elaborately sculpted and decorated and may be as large as a human. Most images are smaller and less gaudy, but still easily identifiable due to the horns that grow from the Tío's head. The icon's eyes may be made of discarded light bulbs from the miners' helmets, or pieces of metal ore, and his teeth are often formed of shards of glass or crystal. At the center of an icon is a lump of metal corresponding to that sought by the miners. different icons may take on slightly different personas and receive distinct names, not unlike different icons of Catholic saints. All images of the Theo embody his greed and insatiability. His mouth is open to accept cigarettes and coca. His hand is outstretched for offerings of alcohol, his erect phallus representing his lust. Surrounding the images are streamers or bits of confetti from past rites and the remnants of the offerings that the miners have made to satiate the Theo's voracious appetite. When an icon goes unattended for some time, the miners say he becomes hungry, and the section of the mine in which the icon is located becomes dangerous because the Theo hungers for human lives. Two types of offerings are made to the Theo, the cha'ala and the ka'araku. The cha'ala is a sort of social visit, during which the miners sit down and share a drink, a smoke, and some coca with the Theo. The most notable cha'alas are performed on the Tuesday of Carnival and during the month of August, but miners also make a small cha'ala to the Theo each Tuesday and Friday when they enter the mine to work. The image is draped with streamers and a cigarette is placed in his mouth. Then the miners sprinkle him with liquor, offer him coca leaves, and light his cigarette. They sit with the image and share his indulgence, drinking, smoking, and chewing coca. The ka'araku is a more ceremonial form of offering, performed by a shaman following the cha'ala to the Theo during Carnival or to placate him after an accident in the mines. The ka'araku performed on the 1st of August, the beginning of a period during which the land opens up to receive offerings in anticipation of the beginning of the agricultural cycle, involves the ritual sacrifice of one or more llamas. The llamas are sacrificed at the entrance of the mine, and their blood is collected in a large bowl. This blood is then splashed across the entrance to the mine and splattered on machinery within the mine or on the rock faces of active veins. In many cases, the llama's heart or a dried llama fetus purchased for the occasion is buried at the image's feet. The miners must then leave the mine so that the Theo can enjoy his meal uninterrupted while they feast on llama meat on the surface. The Theo is not characterized by generosity. He is distinguished by his insatiable appetite. The miners must always think of that appetite and sacrifice llamas so that he will not claim human lives instead. His demands are akin to those that indigenous men faced under the colonial order, in which they were forced into the mines under the mita system and held to impossible production quotas. To escape such a fate, members of the lower classes were obliged to seek the favor of a patron, a powerful ally who would intervene on their behalf. Such interventions were obtained through bribes in much the same way that miners petition the favor of the Theo. As the Lord of the Hills, the Theo's domain is entirely underground. The surface belongs to the Christian god. Consequently, the Theo never appears in church, and it is taboo to make mention of God or the saints inside the mines, lest the Theo lash out. So I felt like this was a pretty appropriate story for me in the moment. I've been doing a lot of reading, and the idea of a specific group of people, the miners in Bolivia, like how they have built their like tradition around this deity was super interesting to me. And I know that there are people out there who they work with specific deities, and there are some people that claim to work with demons. And when I say work with, I mean like that's how they practice their religion or their spirituality or their brujeria. People they work with different entities basically. To hear about this one, it's really interesting. I've always been curious. I'm like, how does that relationship work? And to me, it's a little similar to things that I've heard about, like Santa Muerte, for example, where she is a deity and people work with her, and it's like a worship and exchange kind of thing. Tío is seen as or described as a demon in most cases, but also the miners are working with El Tío, doing rituals and leaving offerings for their protection. And so I'm not sure if maybe they consider anything bad that happens in the mines is directly an act of El Tío, or if they're like, okay, to prevent the really bad stuff from happening, we need to appease him. I don't know. It was really interesting to think about. One line at the very end of that, because I used mythos.fandom.com. I've used this page before and I like it a lot. This one at the very end of the page that I read off, the very last line that I did not read, it said, even the pickaxe, which has the shape of the cross, is avoided as much as possible within the mines. A pickaxe is a pretty common, almost necessary tool in mines. I guess depending on what you're mining. I don't know. This was such a cool story to me. I say this a lot, but I felt like it wasn't inherently like, oh, this is super spooky and it's a haunting, but I don't know. I think it might go back to the idea of people are frightened of things that they don't understand, and usually it's other people's beliefs or practices or cultures that they're frightened of. I don't know. I thought this was more interesting than scary. I think it is a little scary to like be in cahoots with a demon, a known demon, but interesting nonetheless. So there's a few links here that I wanted to go through, and also the pictures of, oh my god, some of these pictures are like kind of like creepy looking. Like if you had no idea what this was about and you just happened to be in these mines for whatever reason and you came across one of these statues, that would be, I think, terrifying. I'd be like, what the fuck is this? But I'm looking at a picture now of one of the figures that is made by people, and there's a miner just sprinkling the coca leaves on the figure, and like the streamers are on it. I don't know. It's an interesting respect, you know? I feel like I just keep saying it's interesting over and over again, but it is, okay? Okay, I'm going to read through this one. This one is it's called theculturetrip.com. Meet El Tío, the devil who rules the underworld of Bolivia's mines. Okay, so this says, deep below the surface of Bolivia's most infamous mine, hordes of workers chip away at the rocky tunnel walls in the hopes of finding even just a fragment of precious silver ore. So it's silver they're mining for. Their work is notoriously dangerous, claiming on average 14 lives each month. Wow. That's so sad, and that is really dangerous work. To mitigate the risk, the miners pay homage to the Lord of the Underworld, a devil-like deity known as El Tío. Silver and tin-rich Cerro Rico, the mountain, is the cash cow that funded a large portion of Spain's colonization of the New World. Some 2 billion ounces of silver ore were extracted from this mountain alone, bringing untold wealth to the conquistadors, who shipped much of the booty back to their homeland. But such riches came at a great cost. 8 million slaves were estimated to have perished while working the mine during the colonial era, a horrifying figure that earned it the moniker, the mountain that eats men. I'm hoping this is going to go into the origin of El Tío. It says, although safety standards have improved considerably since then, Cerro Rico is still a shockingly dangerous place to work. The mine has been almost completely depleted, which means tunnel collapses are common. More deadly still, the workers suffer from silicosis, a respiratory illness caused by breathing in toxic particles of dust. The average life expectancy of those unfortunate enough to carve a career out of the mountain is just 40. That is so young for a life expectancy. It continues, to offset the dangers, colonial era miners began taking the extreme precaution of worshiping the devil. There you go. There's the origin. I'm going to read that again, just so you get it. To offset the dangers, meaning in exchange of the dangers that they were facing, colonial era miners began taking the extreme precaution of worshiping the devil. So they thought it was safer to worship the devil than it was to work in the mines. And they may be right. And it's the colonial area. So the way that these colonists treated them was probably horrific. And you know what? Maybe worshiping the devil was better for them. This continues, referred to as El Tío. He is an amalgamation of the indigenous deities Supe and Huari with Satan of Christianity. These sinister practices continue today as miners pay homage to an effigy of a horned creature with goat-like features in exchange for protection in their dark and notoriously dangerous workplace. If neglected, El Tío is said to become angry and unleash his wrath on the workers below. The miners of Cerro Rico make daily offerings to their nearest El Tío statue, of which there are many, in the belief it will allow them to return home safely to their families that day. According to belief, the devil doesn't like to be left alone. The miners go and sit with the idol to keep him company, sharing their favorite vices of alcohol and cigarettes together. That's kind of cute. Okay, I'm almost done with this one. It says, every year on August 1st, a group of Yatari indigenous witch doctors visit Cerro Rico to perform a ritual sacrifice in the hopes of appeasing the devil below. Again, the llamas. One or more llamas are slaughtered outside the mine and their blood is smeared over the entrance, machinery, and active veins of ore. The heart of the llama is then removed and taken inside to be placed at the statue's feet. Everyone must leave the mine after the bloody ceremony to give El Tío some time to enjoy his meal. All this devil worshipping creates a unique conflict of interest. The miners are, after all, devout Catholics and regular churchgoers. Interestingly, they have found a way to completely separate their two contrasting beliefs. God is worshipped as the ruler of the world above, while El Tío is the lord of the mines below. To adhere to this belief, El Tío is never brought out of the mine except in the form of a dance, while anything related to Christianity is forbidden from being uttered in the underworld. That is so... I love this compartmentalization of those two beliefs. And that's a lot when people practice brujeria or witchcraft. It's a lot of piecing together what works from you from different practices or different, I guess, even like worshiping different deities, which is literally what they're doing is they're worshiping different deities. They worship a Christian god and then they worship some demon devil entity at the same time, and they're able to balance those two things. And it's almost like El Tío is like a saint to them. Obviously the church would never agree to sanctify this entity. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but I don't think they would. Yeah, it's like he's just, El Tío's part of their religion, you know, he's a saint. This is another link. I'm not going to read this one, but this link also touches on, on El Tío. So I'm just going to throw it in with the Google Docs. And I was hoping there would be a video of like the dance itself, but no, it's okay. So now we know that El Tío has his origins, his roots in the colonial era. And we know that he came about when miners in the colonial area decided they needed protection, and so they resorted to worshiping a devil, and that's how he came about. Okay, so hopefully we'll find some more about him. There's this other website, it's randomshutteredsky.com, a travel blog. It says Potosi inside the devil's mine. This is Tío, their god inside the mines. Outside they pray to God, but for them God does not exist inside the mines, so who will take care of them down there? The devil, Tío. There's a picture of Tío. It says the miners adorn him with confetti and give him offerings of coca leaves, alcohol, and cigarettes in exchange for his protection inside the mines. They believe that if they don't do these things, he will cause accidents. The word Tío came from Dios, or God. The letter D was not in the Quechua language, and so the indigenous people pronounced it with a T and evolved into Tío. Oh, like Dios. Tío. Interesting. I didn't know that was the origin of the word Tío. The mine, Cerro Rico, overlooks the city of Potosi. At about 4,100 meters, Potosi is one of the highest cities in the world. Founded in 1545, the mine contains rich silver deposits and made Potosi the major supplier of silver for Spain. This person that wrote this said, my visit started in the miners' market. It is customary to bring presents for the miners when visiting the mines. I got some coca leaves, alcohol, soda, and cigarettes. The coca leaves help the miners to not feel fatigue and hunger. Most will not work without them. I got the alcohol, soda, and cigarettes because today was a special day for them. Today, August 1st, is the day for Ka'araku. Wow, so this person was there for that ceremony. That's really cool. They said inside the mine was cold and damp and then hot much lower down. There were many tunnels and beams that seemed to offer little support against collapse. Most areas were so low we had to crawl through them. As it was a holiday, very few miners were working. Oh, wow. I full on just stumbled on pictures of the llama sacrifice. I'll include this link, but I will put a warning that there's images of blood and animal sacrifice in this one. This last little paragraph says, after visiting the mines, we went out to join in the festivities. All the workers were outside chewing on coca leaves, smoking, and sharing drinks with each other. They happily welcomed us into their group. Ka'araku during the 1st of August is a ceremonial offering of llamas to Tío. 2 llamas were given coca leaves and alcohol to prepare them for the sacrifice. Aww. I feel bad, but that's their practice. It says they were then sacrificed at the entrance of the mines. The blood was scattered across the entrance, walls, and machinery for Tío to feed on, hoping that this would appease him and not claim human lives in the mines. I want to move on to these deities that were mentioned Okay, I just found something really cool. This is, it's 54 pages, so I'm obviously not going to get to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to touch on a few things based on what I see in the table of context. It's a 54-page document. It says SIT Graduate Institute, SIT Study Abroad, SIT Digital Collections, Independent Study Project Collection, Fall 2011, In the Realm of Supai, The Stories of the Miners. It looks like this is by someone named Graham Sutherland and part of a study abroad publication that they did. It says, In the Realm of Supai, The Stories of the Miners by Graham Sutherland. This looks like it's a really cool read, and I want to try and read all of this later at my leisure. I'm going to skip to page 10 where it says on the table of context, it's identified as Wadi and the Virgen, or the Virgin of the Mine Shaft, page 10. Just because I recognize that's one of the names. It is said that the Uru Uru people worshipped the sun, Inti as they called him. Under Inti they fished and raised llamas a life content. Llamas, there's the llamas. They say that Inti's firstborn daughter, the beautiful Inti Huaru, would rise every morning, bringing her dawn across the plateau. And every morning she awakened the giant Wadi with her rare beauty, outlining the Andean slopes and valleys in a thick syrup of oranges and yellows, casting shadows on the subtle elegance of the countryside. And Wadi fell in love. Wadi chased after Intiwara with all of his energy, but his love was prevented by the power of Inti. To stop Wadi, Inti buried the giant's powers inside the mountains, hiding them from the dawn, and so Wadi cursed the sun, vowing to corrupt the Uru Uru from the very realm to which his powers were banished. Wadi then took the human form of a prophet, preaching to the Uru Uru of a new way of life living different than that of Inti. Wadi told the Uru Uru about the mines, about the great riches within, gold, silver, wealth they couldn't imagine. And so they abandoned their ways under Inti. They began to drink to Wadi into the darkness. Well after Inti had set, cursing their neighbors and enemies with frogs, snakes, lizards, and ants, taking others' possessions, growing richer and richer, a mad dash for wealth no matter what the cost. The town became poisoned with violence and ready to implode from greed. Then one day, after a storm came, the beautiful Nusta, the Inca princess, emerging out of a rainbow, and with her the villagers began to return to their old habits under Inti. But Wadi would not stand by and lose his believers and his battle with Inti. In retaliation, he sent 4 plagues, each a symbol of their previous devotion to him, each one to destroy the village. First was an enormous snake crawling from the south and devouring livestock in its path over the mountains to the village. But the Uru Uru called on Nusta, who sliced the snake in two and petrified it. Not to be thwarted, Wadi next sent a titanic frog from the north, whose breath set their fields aflame. This, too, Nusta turned to stone by throwing a rock into the frog's mouth, agape and ready to burn the village. Wadi then sent a gigantic lizard, its sweeping tail ready to take out all of their homes. Nusta chopped off its head and scattered its pieces throughout the mountains. Wadi's final attempt was a horde of smaller terrors, and swarms of ants poured into the valley, only to be turned into sand dunes by Nusta. To finally defeat Wadi, Nusta placed a cross-shaped sword into the earth, penetrating Wadi's domain and allowing peace to return to the corrupt village. Today they say you can see the petrified snake in the hills near Oruro, that the nearby lake runs red with the lizard's blood, and the massive sand dunes that were hordes of ants. And Nusta has stayed in Oruro, now the Virgin of the Mine Shaft, to whom the people of Oruro, the descendants of the Uru Uru, dance in honor of every year during Carnival. That's the story of Wadi. It's interesting to see how they were referenced, those two deities. Okay, so it says that he's an amalgamation of Satan of the Christian religion and of Wadi, of who we just read of, and Supai. I want to know more about Supai. A quick entry from Wikipedia, it says, in the Quechua, Aymara, and Inca mythologies, Supai was both the god of death and ruler of the Uku Pacha, the Incan underworld, as well as a race of demons. With the Spanish colonization of the Americas, Christian priests used the name Supai to refer to the Christian devil. Okay, so there's another little link here, a quick entry. This is from symbolicon.com. Here it says description of Supe. Supe is in the Inca religion is the god of death and the ruler of the underworld. He is also the master of demons. After the Spanish conquest, Supe became associated with the Christian devil. However, this is the interesting part. However, amongst native Peruvians, Supe continued to be invoked and honored lest he cause them harm, much like El Tío. So maybe this is where they got that part of that belief from. Supe is associated with miners and those who dig into the earth. There you go. Like, this is a shoe-in. So this has roots like way into like pre-colonial indigenous deities and beliefs, which is really cool. And then lower there's like a general Inca description. So I'm going to toss this into Google Docs as well. There's like little, I guess, drawings. I guess that's why this website is called symbol icon. So I think that's where I'm going to leave those Google Docs. I think it's always interesting when I'm able to talk about religion on the show, specifically involving South, Central, and Latin American cultures and Catholicism and colonialism. Like, I feel like we can tie so many of the stories that I've told into colonialism and the introduction of Catholicism, and then how we adapted Catholicism to our beliefs and our practices. And I say our, but I'm specifically referring to the indigenous people that experienced this. Yeah, and just how those beliefs and practices were adopted and adapted and then like made to fit with like our beliefs, and like a lot of it has become a mix of the two. And I'm always interested in that. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for listening today. Thank you so much for being here. If you have your own scary story, picture, video, recording, whatever it is, send that to me. You can email it, sustopodcast@gmail.com. You can also DM me on the social medias at sustopodcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please make sure that you are following on social platforms so that you can keep up with any and all updates on the show. Also, as a reminder, please leave a review, a 5-star review, or whatever is the best kind of review you can give if you feel like it, wherever you are listening, and subscribe to the show, like it, however you can interact. Just click all the buttons, and yeah, just let's bump Susto up on the algorithm and get that going. I'm going to try a lot harder to be more active and engaging on these social medias and do my part that way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to me with any of your stories or content that you want me to share on the show. All right, I'll talk to you later, and stay out of the mines. Bye.